I have a question, Sam. Do you think that in different, or has the research shown like at different seasons of a person's life, the calling can pretty significantly shift, or does it generally keep a pretty consistent arc from what you've seen? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it can shift. What we know about brain development is the brain is fully developing into the late 20s and sometimes even in the early 30s. And earlier career research has used the term career consolidation
Mm.
and has said people's careers start to consolidate around their mid 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And so that tends to be a point where people have a pretty strong direction for their careers.
Mm-hmm.
For people who choose to have families and to have children, that can be a redirect for people's sense of priorities. They tend to be less risk
Mm-hmm.
taking, want more stability, more work-life balance. And so there are other dimensions of someone's life.
Right.
A lot of our career work is built off the notion of a self-concept or an identity, but your self-concept has multiple identities.
Mm-hmm.
I have an identity as a professional. I have an identity as as a father, as a husband.
Mm-hmm.
I have an identity as a friend. And so multiple identities within me. So sometimes one identity is more salient,
Right.
depending on life stage.
Right.
So that can shift. Sometimes a traumatic experience, if someone is fired or their company is downsized,
Sure.
if something traumatic happens in someone's life, there can be a pretty
Right.
significant redirect. There are other people who get into the wrong career.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a challenge for really talented people,
Right.
actually. For people like me, I just consider myself an average person. There's a lot of things I can't do. And so it made some career pathing easier. But sometimes I work with students who truly could do anything. Like they could be a NASA scientist or they could go be the head of a company. Like
Sure.
they're just their talent spectrum is so wide. What are you going to say?
I just said, yep, I've
Yeah.
met some of those people. Yep.
You've met some of those people. And so their talents actually don't limit what they can do. And so sometimes they don't make the right choices around their interests. And so to answer your question there can be a redirect at a later time.
Sure.
Saying, I've built a career doing fill in the blank, but it's not really what's satisfying
Right.
me anymore. I became a doctor, but I really don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, that piece.
So yeah, absolutely.
That piece you mentioned there of like, oh, I'm not feeling very satisfied ties back to what, the research you said earlier. If people are feeling that way most of the time, in their career and job anyways, maybe it is a good time to say, hey, should I revisit this calling thing? Or have I even considered that in the first place? So it's a good tie in. And I think that's, one of the hopes with this is just make it practical because people can should start at any time. You've laid out kind of a good framework for people to think about it.